Yeah.
So,
So
I'm going
is-
to wave my
is
hand
that the
here.
Piedmont?
So, we are starting a
Piedmont.
meeting, a special meeting of the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission. We do not have a quorum, so we will not be voting on anything. However, we will be discussing what's on the agenda, as we can do by law. So, we will take a look at the minutes of the January 8th meeting, just to get a
Am I
feeling if
supposed to
anybody
take
has
minutes of this
anything
thing?
there that has to be corrected. Take a look at that. That should be in your thick packet. If we get a quorum, we can vote on accepting them. If we don't,
Then what?
we won't. But you can just take a look over those. Send your attention to the 5th paragraph. Lucy will prepare a revised application and cost estimate in packet format so the veteran signage application can be discussed. I got one from her on my phone just now. It turns out that it is the same as the one that I'm going to give you in a couple of seconds here. And so we'll talk about that. We can't vote on it unless we have a quorum, but we have it there.
Does L have two
And so I don't think
L's or
there's...
one?
Two L's.
That's what I thought.
Is there anything else on there?
AM.
All right, so we can't vote on that right now, so we'll just read it over and make a note.
Okay.
And when it comes time to vote, if we get a quorum, then we can do that. Okay. The approval for the veteran sign application, we can't do a vote on that, but we certainly can look at it. So you all have a copy of this, which is the one that has the seal of the town at the top. And this has gone through a few permutations. I don't think this is radically different from the last one. I will say that at the end of the second page, where you have the flag at the top, the things at the bottom, the branch of service, the full-time National Guard specification, and the verification, those three things, I believe, were clarified and added at the last meeting, all right?
Yes.
So, those are the three things, and those are things that should be there, all right, because it explains it in a little more detail, and they're just asking for normal things like your DD Form 214, your report of separation and such. So, other than that, take a look at that. If you've got any questions about it, now's the time to raise them. Town of Darien's Wartime Veterans Street Sign Program is designed to recognize wartime veterans who have served our community and country by adding their name to an existing street sign in Darien. Okay, that's got to be punctuated better, otherwise it looks like that they're going to better serve us by adding their name themselves, but that's not going to happen. To run on. And it just goes through to give the information on the veteran and also the person who is nominating the veteran.
Dave, do you know the authority for the armed conflict dates?
Yeah,
Sharon, do you know you're on the commission, that committee?
No, Terry was supposed to be doing that.
I think he looked it up or something and
The dates?
I think
dates,
they're right
yeah.
here. Yeah. but
No, they have the dates, but what is the authority for it?
Yeah.
I mean, the Department of Defense has an official,
Yeah.
has an official, these are the dates, and they don't agree with this
No,
necessarily.
you're right, you're correct. In
So,
fact,
I mean,
right off the bat,
This
I
may
think-
be a different authority, but we should,
clarify.
well, yeah, because it isn't because this is what the committee says when the war was on. It's when some official organization says it's a committee.
So we have to clarify the source of this.
Exactly.
And we have to clarify the dates.
Well, the dates, as long as you've got a good source on the dates, that's really all that matters, but.
Okay, but we have to clarify the source and clarify the dates on this, all right?
Right.
So that we know, so we're not,
You agree with
going
the
off road here.
Vietnam date?
Actually, I don't think it was 64.
No, neither do I.
Yeah.
I was there before that.
Okay, you
Yeah, it
said
wasn't
clarify
declared
source
yet.
and
I think it was-
do what?
It was,
Clarify the source,
And the
after the
dates.
Gulf.
clarify the
And the
source,
source
and
and the
clarify that all these
Yeah.
dates
That's one of the
are
first.
valid
We ought
according to some
pick up
legit
Oak
source.
Johnson, because that's
Where
what,
did
yes.
Where did
the-
this-
you
where
need
did
the
they come
fabrication
Yeah.
of a
Did
conflict.
they come from the Department of
fact,
Defense, from the DOD site, or where did they come from? We need to know that, all right? So that's one thing we can do. So the discharge must be honorably discharged, obviously. Branch of service.
That's where it gets.
I like the
murky,
clarification on
the
National
declaration
Guard.
of war. It was never a declaration of war to begin with.
Either was Korea.
No, that's right. Or when the president directs, well, but nobody ever declared a war there.
I don't know what full-time National Guard duty is.
Full-time National Guard duty is only considered such when National Guard members are activated.
So what you're saying is that National Guard members, that National Guard duty is only considered, okay, not, because the full-time throws it off. I mean, what the
Yeah,
hell
it
is
should
full-time
be
now?
National Guard
Is only
service, okay, or service rendered as.
National Guard service is only
Or
considered.
service rendered as a National Guard member, one or the other.
National Guard service
Your duty is
is only considered when
it's
such
too
national-
widely
Yeah,
encompassing.
duty is a bad word, you're right, exactly, it shouldn't be duty, it should be service. And we're saying that, and basically it isn't even full-time National Guard, what you really want to put in there is wartime National Guard service,
Okay,
right?
wartime.
Because this whole thing is about wartime service, isn't
Yeah,
it? So it should be really wartime National Guard service,
Okay,
right?
Well,
Is,
Wartime
Or
and-
reserve.
And armed conflict.
Add reserve to that,
Yeah.
too.
National Guard, sir.
Yeah.
okay, say the whole sentence so I can, wartime national
Guard service.
service,
No, National Guard or reserve service.
yeah,
National Guard.
Because
Or
you've got
reserve
Army
service.
Reserve people like me who
yeah,
yeah. That's true.
qualify, according to the DOD, qualify as veterans, but were never involved in
okay?
anything hairy.
and really, wartime National Guard or reserve service is only considered such when National Guard members, National Guard or reserve service.
Or reserve members, National
Reserve
Guard or
members,
reserve members.
okay, reserve members.
Are activated
So
to
National
regular-
Guard or reserve are activated to regular services, not include weekend drills or active, yeah, absolutely, okay?
Yep.
That
got it.
clarifies that.
Yep.
And that makes sense, because you've got reserve people and you've got National Guard people, and just being in the National Guard but not being
Right.
activated
Yeah.
during wartime doesn't make you a
See,
wartime
under,
veteran.
under law, even though I was a reservist, by some definitions during the Vietnam era and am technically qualified to be buried in Arlington Memorial Ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
I would not and should not be part of this program.
If you didn't serve during wartime, and or
Well-
in that slot, yeah, right, exactly, if you weren't activated, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Even if I did, even if I was in the reserve during wartime but wasn't activated.
Yeah,
So we're going to check on the source and the dates for the armed conflict.
Read that whole sentence.
Yeah,
Wartime.
Wartime National Guard or reserve
Wait.
service.
Read it slow enough for me to write it.
Okay, wartime National Guard or reserve service is
Guard.
only considered
Wartime
such.
National Guard
or reserve service.
service.
And then the rest is only considered such when National Guard or
Or-
reserve,
members.
and the members is already
or,
there.
or call-up. If they're not, if they can be in those categories, but their units weren't called up,
Right.
so you.
So, well, it says are activated to regular service.
Yeah, and they've got to
Okay.
be activated,
Actually, we should say activated to regular wartime service.
yeah.
Just to be specific, because you can be activated to regular service from a National Guard.
Okay, say that
or from
again, so,
reserves
or,
and not go to war.
or,
Regular.
say that last one.
Okay, so wartime National Guard or reserve service is only considered such when National
Is
Guard,
already only considered.
such, it's already there, when National Guard
Such.
or reserve members are activated to regular
Service.
wartime service. And the
Okay,
rest of it,
wartime
the rest
service
stays the
does
same.
not include.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I want to, if it's during wartime, okay, but,
It's wartime, actually, sir. So they
Right.
define wartime.
Regular.
I'm
They
going to
define
get,
wartime at the top.
I'm going to get picky, but the Korean War was actually Korean conflict. The Vietnam
Right.
was a conflict. It was not a war. So other armed conflicts, so it should read conflicts, any armed conflicts.
right.
I've got, I was just reading something, and it was either the National Guard, our little private club over here, that magazine, and I also belong to the other one up in Vermont where I launched. And there were different dates. I'll have to see if I can find one. These dates are
So-
really way off.
You wanted to say, you don't want to say then, reserve.
We'll just blank out. We're
Activated.
going to have to get either some kind of an official, what the government stance now. I would caution you to let you know that I've worked with people who objected to some of these things, not because of this, but they were in the National Guard, or they were in this or that, and they were called up. Had a guy who was, he worked for me at one point. He just came and asked if he and his wife could stop off for a week while they were coming up this way, and we're going to be out of town, so I suppose he's going to come back and say, leave the key. But at any rate, he said, I was in Vietnam, quote, time. I said, what's that mean? And he said, well, I was in Korea. And I said, yeah. And he said, that should count.
Yeah.
And there was another guy that works right in this building with us, he's now retired, and he'd get purple if we had a guy come in who was a spook, worked with us for a while.
Right.
A couple of guys.
Sure.
And he said, I was in the National Guard.
Yeah,
Did you get called up? No,
yeah,
but I was in during Vietnam. And he would get purple in his face.
yeah. Some of them were there, I mean, let's face reality, okay? Some of them, we can't get into that now,
Yeah.
but when you talk about a spook, is someone who was there prior to the war, okay, who was doing, service for the United States government at the behest of another government, okay? And let's face it, there are people in there. I don't know that we're gonna ever come across anybody here, again, who fits into that category, and I think probably you'll have to worry about that at the time, because you just can't get down to it.
You know,
All right.
But that's what that refers to.
All right, so are we going to change anything else?
We're not gonna change it, I think.
We can't
I think
vote on
should-
anything.
I think we
No,
can
I
vote on it
just-
anyway, but
No, I
these are
just wanna-
suggestions for the committee.
Right.
Okay, and you're gonna meet again, so between now and the next week, because she said in her email to me today that she expected to meet between now and the March meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Korean conflict certainly falls in play. I don't know, I think you should find the correct terminology for Korean conflict and Vietnam conflict or Vietnam War. We commonly refer to it as the Vietnam War and so on. We should find out what the DOD calls it. Okay, if the DOD calls it that, and a lot of this is going to be on the DOD site. It's going to be on the DOD website. Somebody obviously went to some link on the bottom under
Yeah.
verification, Terry, looking it up, and probably this comes right from the DOD, Department of Defense website. I'm pretty sure because I've traveled that website quite a bit. So let's do this. If there's nothing else that anybody has to recommend, I think you should, Sharon, just take those
right.
recommendations back when you're committee
Right,
meets.
so, all right, just to get this straight, so when I meet with them, we might look up instead of reading the Korean War, we might want to say Korean conflict?
Conflict. It
Okay.
might be. Just find the correct terminology.
The
or what's
correct
correct?
terminology
Okay.
would be.
And what's acceptable for Vietnam, okay?
Okay,
And the other stuff is just that we have to check the dates, because, depending upon what source you're looking at, you might find a variation these days. Some people give credit back, to 2 years before this, some people don't count it, whatever. Just check it out.
No, but we should find one recognized source and stick with it.
And stick with it for the whole document.
Yes.
Right.
So if you're gonna go with DOD, fine. If you're gonna go with something else, fine. Okay, but you have to figure out what it's gonna be. All right?
okay.
So much for that. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda,
I
the existing
don't have
agenda
that.
from
Okay.
February 12th.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've looked at the minutes, we can't vote on it. We looked at the veteran sign application, we can't vote on that. The,
Display case.
there is something attached at the end of this packet as far as Lucy publicity. There's an article that appeared in the newspaper honoring those who served during teacher creates program with veterans' names on street signs. Okay, that's for your own enjoyment. You can read that. We do have a voluminous list of people who have put in their applications. If you look at where it says Monuments and Ceremonies Display Case, that is after the 2020 stuff. If you look at that, you'll find this page, Monuments and Ceremonies. This is the full list for the year, okay? And now that you've got the full list for the year and the contact people, if should you ever have to contact somebody to take something out of the case to put it in, right now the DCA is in there. Very nice. All the applications that we were looking for and that we needed to fill out our repertoire of applications are here. So we have all these listed, and you can look over them if you'd like to, but I think we're pretty much up to date.
Some were approved and voted on before, but I guess
Right.
we have to keep these because we can't vote.
Right, so these will be part of the record for this meeting, and we can vote on them at the next one. We've already established who's going to be in the case.
Also have an additional one from Mather for May.
From who?
Mather.
Mather Senior
Oh,
Center.
the Mather Senior Center, okay, I thought you meant the Mather House. All right, so we'll revisit those, the display case list at some point. Okay, we do have a Grand Marshal and a speaker for Memorial Day Parade. The Grand Marshal is going to be Patricia Parlett of Darien. I spoke to her on the phone, she was very happy to accept. And Matt Pavia, who wrote the most recent book on Stanford and the Vietnam veterans from Stanford, including many of the guys that we know from our own VFW who lived in Stanford, like Lenny Hunter. Great book. He wrote that in conjunction with his father. So Tony Pavia and Matt Pavia wrote that book. The name of the book is An American Town in the Vietnam War, Stories of Service from Stamford, Connecticut. Matt has agreed to be our speaker. All right, so someone will contact Matt and let him know, how long and what it looks like. There's also a Vimeo of all of our last 3 or 4 Memorial Day ceremonies that you can hit by going onto the town TV channel website. Okay, you can go to their archives and you can pull these up. So if you ever want to look at, what the procedure is, what the ceremony looks like, there it is if you haven't been there. So we do have the Grand Marshal and the Speaker. I do want to mention, in addition to the Grand Marshal and the Speaker, I have also contacted Chris Andrade from the high school. He's the one who brings the tutor singers. He's also the one who brings the sound system. And he is already committed and on board for that. Okay? So Chris Andrade is done. All right? The speaker system and the tutor singers. I also have initiated proceedings with Linda O'Leary from a selectman's office to get the flyover. Because it takes a long time to do this. It's a very, very involved process to go through all the different government agencies and stuff to get the flyover. So we decided this year to start it like 2 months early. Okay, so we don't have to fool around with it later on. So she's already, and that's no guarantee we won't. So she's already working on that for me. Thank you very much, Linda. You're the greatest. All right, so those two things and the Grand Marshal and Speaker are already taken care of. Okay, let's address the Master of Ceremonies. Here's your news for today. I will not be here on Memorial Day. I will be traveling.
Nor will I.
Okay, nor will my wife. So,
Well, I figured
at
if
this
he's going,
particular
you're
point in
going.
time, it becomes incumbent upon somebody from the commission
Or not
to,
necessarily, I guess.
or not necessarily, but somebody to step up and decide that they're going to be the Master of Ceremonies for that particular program in the cemetery. And I throw that out there to the commission and also to whoever else is listening. But anyway, we will need somebody to do that for us. I find that my time is taken up a lot with traveling lately, and I just will not be, that's a holiday time, and I will be someplace else. So my wife and I will be going. So somebody will have to pick up the slack on that.
It will be the first parade I missed in 27
27
years.
years, right. I'm going to try, I'm trying to get all of the things that you would find on this beautiful little list, which I gave you last time. All right? to make sure that every one of these things is checked off before we do it, all right? We've already covered quite a few. I can contact the Reverend Monsignor Edward Cirillo again, if you would like me to do that, that's okay.
Can't vote on them, so.
Can't vote on it, but you can empower me to do it. I can at least extend a hand to him. He would, I think he would love to do it again. He was
very
wonderful last
happy to
year,
do it.
so I could take care of that. The two other portions of this particular program that we don't have much control over are the Cadet Scouts and the Memorial Day, the Poetry Winter. That'll be in Terry's hands. The General Logan's Order is also a Boy Scout. The Tutor Singers, several program pieces there. The TAPS has been performed by the Darien High School band students. I will contact Chris and make sure that he checks with somebody there, and if not, and I'll check with him soon, okay? And I will make sure that they're going to come. If they're not going to come, I'll contact our regular bugler for all our other programs, Anthony Montemuro, and we'll see if he's available. The military salute from the Darien VFW Honor Guard. Somebody who's connected with the VFW should contact them. If not, I will contact them. And then the prayer of benediction. So that's the program. The program is pretty much fleshed out. We just need a couple of pieces, small pieces to do that. Now, in conjunction with this, and going back to number 5, Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony, just to talk about the parade, I am going to take it upon myself to contact the manager of the Stop and Shop in town, just to make sure that the manager, I think it's the new manager, that's why, the new manager knows what we're going to do and, what to expect on that day, so it's not surprise in April or May. So I'll take it upon myself to get over there and speak to the manager. So I will take care of that. I think that's a good thing to do. It's good citizenship, and it's keeps good neighbors and stuff. We keep everybody informed of what we're going to do. So that's the deal, okay, as far as that goes. And it will be the first one of these that I have missed in many years. I even went down to, I made the run to the wall, my motorcycle 3 times, and I made it back that Sunday afternoon to make sure I was here the next day, all 3 times. So it's, and by the way, anybody who's interested in that, this will be the last time that they make the motorcycle run to the wall. This is the last year that we'll do that. And I am not going there. That's not what I'm doing. But because they're just too costly for them to do it. So that's takes care of anything with the parade and with the ceremony. There are some small little items, things like the bell and the chairs and the bunting being put on that morning. But we're in February now, okay? We're out in front of this.
Order the reviewing stand and the wreath and the
right, and all that can be done
staging
after the next meeting or whatever. We can just ask the Parks and Rec to get the stand out there and stuff, or we can do it in April. But I think it's good to let them know in advance that we're going to be expecting this. So I think we're out in front of this. All we require is somebody, to take the role of Master of Ceremonies on that particular day. All right, let's jump on to dates and times for the 2020 meetings. And I think they're in here. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
The second page, and there's a couple of communications there about the 2020 committee. So because the 2020 committee is under this commission, they have to follow the same rules we do, and that's why we had dates and times that had to be put forward. You have to set a schedule for a period of time. You can't just, for the next year, you can't just, say, okay, let's meet next week. So they have done that now. They have submitted a series of dates, my understanding is, and there's also a piece in here from Al Miller, who's the new chairman of that committee, the 2020 committee, explaining what they're going to take responsibility for. And since I'm not on that committee, I'm going to ask Ken to just jump in and just fill us in on anything he'd like to.
Where is that?
That would be the third page. And on the bottom, it has, and on the bottom it starts.
Gotcha, okay.
Where it says, here are the 6 initial Ezra.
Yep, okay, well, Al was brand new to to this and to this idea, but I think he'll be fine. He's certainly embracing it fully, and he presumably is being backed up by Bob Pascal, who has stepped in as interim, but, that remains to be seen how much goes on that. But yes, you're right, we do have the dates are set. It's the second Wednesday of every month.
Good.
We're getting the list of members, which is in flux and will be and continue to be. I have suggested to Al that as soon as he has a list of organizations in town that are being contacted, have been contacted, or may be contacted, that he give that list to me so I can give that list to you, so that if there's anything left off, or anybody, if you have any suggestions or anything, the overall committee should be able to, the commission should be able to cast an eye on that. So he will do that. And also, if anybody's got a connection or anything that should be covered or included.
Has the logo come to fruition yet?
No.
Okay.
We did, running programs that involve Darien school students is always a wonderful idea, as long as you have a strong backup. I think we got three.
Hey, Jim.
Hello, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hello.
I'm reporting on the 2020.
Good.
As long as you have a strong backup. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 finished entries.
Okay.
One was absolutely
Well,
a misunderstanding.
okay. Happens.
And the others were, within the realm of possibility, but not really overly suitable. The Sarakina, who was running it, was eager to have the 4 students who were submitting get together and work out a joint deal. But I suggested that we really needed a lot faster action, because if we're going to use banners and we're going to do other kinds of things like that,
Right.
we needed to get a budget for those
Right.
immediately. And so Al suggested that we have a professional designer backup,
Yeah.
and see if we can get the professional designer to invite the students over for a conference
Right.
to,
Yeah, I mean, I think our heart was in the right place on that one.
Absolutely.
We wanted to try to
Yeah.
enfranchise the students and stuff and everything
Right.
else. And,
Well,
I mean, sometimes it works out, sometimes it
Well,
doesn't.
it's been a struggle getting the essay contests and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff for
and
years. It's always,
we've
because
been
the
there.
school, the curricula is so crowded in the schools. It's very, very hard to carve out additional time and get faculty involvement and all that kind of stuff. So it just isn't easy. So we're doing that. And we suggested also that the group
I didn't send that out.
took a very positive attitude toward, and that was to have the 2020 committee create a souvenir, if you will, of the 2020 celebration in a historical marker program where individual markers could be sponsored by local businesses or whatever, where town, important sites in town could be identified and explained.
That's a great idea.
And put around. We've talked about doing this kind of thing before. Of course, these things, I guess, technically qualify as monuments, so at some point, this organization will have
Sure.
to sign off on it.
Sure, I mean,
which is fine.
they did this for the 150th. Okay, they did a couple of things like this. They did the one down by the bridge, Rings End Bridge,
Yeah.
was put in for the 150th. And there were
We're talking now,
a few.
Dave, about doing those more pictorial ones like they have
I
down
love
at
those, yeah.
Lee Beach and,
Like down at, that one down at Pear Tree.
down at
Point
Pear
has-
Tree,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
the one
beautiful
down-
one right at the boat ramp. Yes.
Exactly.
Those are nice.
exactly,
The
following that
local fellow that
example.
does that.
You know, Tilly Pond, both of those markers were stolen in 1987, according to what I read in the Historical Society. And one was from the children of Tilly, and the other one was a 1970.
From the 70-76.
Yeah, was-
The 200th anniversary one of us.
What were they, bronze plaques?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, on rocks.
Yes, on
Yeah.
rock.
Stones.
I
That
have
doesn't
pic-
matter, you can get them off, and the melt value is very,
And
very
even
high.
the rock is gone.
The melt value of that got pretty high.
Yeah,
Well-
someone just stole the metal.
Is there any chance that we could ever replace them? I mean, I have pictures of them, but they're just disappeared.
Well, that's a thought, that place, the Tilly Park,
Tilly would be one of these
Would be one
sites.
of them.
That would be
So-
one of the sites.
Yeah.
But our thought is to have sort of a pictorial thing, you know, where
Right.
you would have a
An
picture of
interpretive
the old pond and maybe an old, George Tilly ran these wonderful little ads in, what was it, Town, not Town and Country, but whatever it was, in the pre-World War I era, selling exotic birds.
I
It just-
found some of them, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen some of those ads.
Yeah, so just, you know, that kind of stuff, a little explanation.
So you're going to be considering certain sites around town to do this?
I gave him a list of 14 candidate sites, and we may add that. And this is another thing that as soon as we get up, that list of sites will come before this committee also. And the idea is to try to get people to try to get organizations to sign up to sponsor them. Now, Al or some said, gee whiz, and that's great, we could, you know, we could dedicate one every month or something like that. It may be pushing things a little bit,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know,
so.
but
A walk where you can run.
the idea being that the 2020 celebration should have some sort of permanent remainder. There should be something that lasts past the 2020 thing. I also gave Al a list of the dates, which you might
Right, I
be
saw the
interested in.
list of dates
Yeah.
that were important for that year.
Yeah, where we've got essentially four, in the April, May, June window, which is what we're talking about, we've essentially got four dates that we can identify as being of enough significance. There's April 17th, which is, Dave, I gave Dave a copy.
Yeah.
April 17th, which is when the petition was signed and completed. Then there was May 3rd, which is when the assembly convened in New Haven, and presumably the petition was presented on or about that date, and it went through the usual business and was passed. And we don't have a date when it was actually passed, that I don't think was noted, but May 30th was when it was signed into law by Governor Oliver Wolcott, and it specified that the second Monday in June would be the first Darien Town meeting, moderated by Thaddeus Bell, in which officers would be elected and the town government would be organized. And that was June 13th. So we've got those four dates that we can...
12th or 13th?
Huh?
12th or 13th? Yeah, it's 12th.
13th. It's-
Anyway, I think that's great, and
June 14th is Flag Day.
I do think getting local businesses to do some stuff to sponsor some of these things would be awesome too. The fellow who
Right.
did the sign down at Pear Tree Beach is a local person, and he did it. It was a Boy Scout project. It was a Eagle Scout project, I believe, that this boy did it. The fellow, I know the name. I have the name and the phone number of the man who designed that. That's a pretty sturdy stand. It's cemented into the ground. It's metal. It's
Yep.
laminated on top, but it's not laminated like our grandmother's laminator. It's a modern day lamination that can withstand the elements. It's wonderful. I also have a suggestion to, and I don't know if it's on your list, but the cemetery that's on the Post Road near the Darien Green, which is the old George Pacific building, the cemetery that's behind there has already been started to be maintained by the new group that bought that property.
Right.
Now, they have already expressed to me a desire to make that an interpretive site. So this would be, and they are, and this is a new company that's come in, and they're very, very keen You can see they're doing an awful lot of work up there, okay? But they've already rebuilt the wall around the cemetery, it's perfect. And that's a very old cemetery, has a lot of our older families in town. It's a Bates Cemetery #1 or whatever. And it's also been called the Bates Middlesex Cemetery at different times. There was a group that ran it at one point. The Masons helped them out. The Masons now help maintain it. But I think that, they may be contacted. If you need the contact person for the guy that's on the ground, feet on the ground at that site, I can give that to you. He's a very, very knowledgeable human being, and I had a meeting with him once already, and he's more than willing to talk about, and he wants some historical people to be helping him out so that he doesn't make any
Right.
mistakes as far as that goes.
Right, well, I think the Historical Society certainly will oversee
Right.
the content of the plaques. Who's going to get out there and knock on doors to get it, I'm not sure, but that's up to Al and the committee to figure that out, to see who they're going to get. And at that point, we can get them a name.
So now, I notice on here, there's press releases, websites, social media, all good banners, et cetera, around town. The man who I spoke to, who does the banners that we have in town that exist already, the flags and such, one of the fellows that's a key player in that is David Hawes, Hawes, all right? He and his wife Holly are real estate agents in town.
Now, which banners are these?
These are the flags that hang on our poles, where they have brackets that hang on our poles and are changed and so on. You may go with flags as opposed to banners or whatever, but I think you should bring him into the fold, all right? Hawes, David, and he's.
And where can he be found?
He lives in Darien, off the Post Road, he and his wife.
Next door to Sharon Kells.
Yeah, he lives right next door to Sharon Kells, up up there.
Okay.
Where a garden gate used to be and all that. So he had expressed an interest at one time. Couldn't make the one meeting that we had when I was back chairman of that. But I would suggest you contact him because he's a viable.
Yeah, I thought
person.
didn't we have his name?
And he'll be knowledgeable. He'd be knowledgeable
I don't
about
know.
dollars and cents on that too.
Yeah.
So you're a work in progress, and you're going to keep us updated and on all of this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a tremendous amount of pushback from this group as a whole, because you've got 3 members on your committee. You've got Jim and Ken and Rob Hewlick, all 3 of whom should be involved in the oversight for this commission. So if there's anything that, your job basically is to raise the issue if there's a problem, okay? And what I'm seeing so far is all positive steps moving in the right direction, and I really don't have anything else to add. As far as the overall budget goes for that, Ken?
Sorry?
As far as budget for that, I'm assuming that you're going to check with Kate or Jen Terneski. Somebody will be checking with them on how to work a budget out and all that for anything that has to be done through the town.
Okay, now that's the next, okay, does the budget come through here, or does it come through?
They may want to run it, I would suggest they sit down with Kate or Jen, her assistant in the financial office up here, and you have to sit down and talk to them about what you think you want to do, or what you might want to do, and how legally they can do it.
It might come from here because the cemetery, we have to create and sign the cemetery from us.
Now, when does this need to be done by?
Well, it depends.
July.
We already put some money in for.
Right.
We already, in my budget, when I put in a budget, I put in a separate item of like $5,000 or something like that. I already did that. I was anticipating at that point.
I don't think I have.
So I think what you need to do is you need to check with them and see, how that's working and what the mechanics are of it, all right? Because obviously, there's going to have to be certain hoops you have to go through. For instance, I have to buy new flags, okay? We have a budget, all right, to replace these things. But I just checked with Kate and I said, hey, how do I do it the right way? I don't just go off and order them. So we'll go through, if it's going to be over a certain amount of money, I'll put in a purchase order and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll call the company to buy the new flags, and I'll get a price from them and stuff, and then I'll fill out the purchase order, and that's how we're getting it. So there may be some steps that you have to go through in order to spend your money too, once you get it. So I would suggest that you have a meeting with somebody in finance. Somebody has to come over. If you haven't done it already, you may want to have somebody who's going to be in charge of funds and stuff on your committee rather, and that person can do the meeting.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've talked to Al, because Al needs he needs a strong administrative support on the committee.
Okay, so I suggested someone, I won't name now, but I suggested someone who's a retired CPA, and he could probably be your man, all right? But it's up to what you guys want to do in your committee. I'm not going to tell you what to do, all right? So he's been brought forward.
I have
Yeah.
not heard anything back from Al
Okay,
on that,
well,
but-
Al knows the fella, okay? He knows who I'm talking about, and that would be my suggestion. But I'm just
Well, I
saying,
mean, he may
it's a
need,
guy that does
no,
it.
he may need a couple, he may
Yeah,
need
he may need a couple.
he may need somebody to run the
But
money.
I would have that meeting sooner than later, but I'm not driving your committee. You do what you gotta do, all right?
Yep.
Is there anything else, any key things on that, Ken, you wanna bring up, or Jim? On that,
Jim,
2020?
we don't have a quorum, so we
Yeah, we can't
can't, we
vote.
can't vote
Oh.
on anything,
Okay.
so.
Well, that's what happens when you have
We're missing one,
snowstorms.
yeah, we're missing one guy. Okay, so I'm going to jump, the section here on Patriots Day discussion and return of survey, I'm going to defer that to the next meeting, only because there's so many other things on our plate at this point that I think we
should
need
defer that.
forever.
We can't make it.
Yeah, we can't make a decision on it. I'll talk to the first selectman and decide, we'll decide what direction we want to go in, and then I'll bring it back to the committee.
Okay.
Flag order. So I showed this to other people, but, we put flags up around town. The 2 flags that are down at the train station, we put them up. That comes out of us. Those are straightforward flags. They're 3x5s. They're Nile Glow. They cost about $27 to $28 a piece. And we replace them once or twice a year, depending upon how shabby they get. We don't let them get shabby, but if they get worn, this is what happens with weather, okay? Especially if you're over the turnpike. We also have flags that have 6 grommets on them, like this one. Those are used for the overpasses. We do the overpass over exit 10. We do the overpass now up at Trader Joe's also. And the reason for that is that there used to be a fellow or somebody who did those out there, put 2 flags out up there over the overpass. And for about a year or so, all of a sudden, well, not suddenly, but we saw there were no flags going up, so we started to put them up there. So that's 4 flags, all right? When I went by there the other day, this is what I found. So this is the kind of stuff that I have a hard
We need to
time
hold it.
fathoming, all right?
Or you can hold it.
So
That flag needs to be burned.
this flag will be, okay, but this is the
Somebody
hole
cut
that
it
was-
out.
This is the
Yes.
hole that was cut out
So you could look at the through
so that you
line.
could look through it, okay?
How
Or something
stupid.
like that, or to play games with or something. This is an American flag that was on the overpass, all right? So I wheeled around and tore it down, took it down, cut it
That
down.
happened before, Dave.
It
Yes.
happened, yeah, it happened
It
before
happened
when some
before.
kids put a
Number
did
on
a
it.
number on it. But see, this one's got a grommet here, so it costs a little extra for these. But I will put in an order for a half dozen of these. I know for a fact in our inventory we have 2. So that's fine. Those are the 2 that go over the exit 10. Okay, and I will order another 4 to 6 so that we have an inventory of them. As far as the regular 3x5 flags for down at the train station, the 2 that are there, we put them up also around that monument. I have about 9 of those.
What are the size of this?
This one's 3x5, and it's a Nile Glow.
Am I supposed to be taking minutes of this or not?
No, well, yeah, I mean, you can.
It's a discussion, it's not-
It's a discussion, but you can,
I don't know.
we're discussing stuff, we're just not voting on anything. But I had already,
Okay.
checked into this, I've got the number of the place we order them from, and I will make sure that I get that squared away before we run out of flags. We're pretty good as far as the other equipment that we have. We have enough sashes for the Grand Marshal, for instance, and things of that nature. We have that all stored. That's all stored downstairs, okay, in a room downstairs. So everything is stored in the house here.
Hopefully.
So I will take care of that. That doesn't have to be voted on. That's a normal expense.
No insurance on any of these things?
Hmm?
No insurance on
No,
any
no,
of these
no,
things?
not on these things, no. I mean, put them out in a public eye and stuff, anything can happen.
It
to them.
needs
There's
on the
no real-
storage.
Oh, what do you mean?
I think-
Insurance on the storage downstairs? It's insured by the same rider that the building is insured.
And I
Yeah,
wonder if
because the actual closet that we use downstairs, or storage facility that we use downstairs, is actually the first selectman's storage. Okay, so we have a kind of portion, a part of that. That's where all of our flags are, that's where all of our stands are, that's where the bunting resides, that's where anything that has to do with the monuments and ceremonies are. There's nothing that belongs to the monuments and ceremonies that is not downstairs.
Right.
Okay, I don't have anything in my house or anything like that, or, you know.
Right.
with
I will mention to you that I have a quantity of flags that were given to me by someone who left town, Phil Kraft. Okay, they were from his group, and he did give them to me, donated them to me, and said, use them as you wish, and I will be bringing them to the town hall at some point, most of them anyway,
Dave, did we
Giving
get
them.
the lectern last year from the VFW?
yes, lectern came from the VFW.
And will that continue to,
Yeah, well, they'll continue to do that, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and then we got the bell from the Norotan Heights Fire
yeah,
Department.
well, we've been
Yeah.
doing that for years.
The chairs came from, at one point, they came from the Scouts. We used to get them from the Norotan Fire Department, then we got them from the Scout House. Okay, and Terry took care of that. So there's a lot of little things like that. The only thing that relates to the parade that has to be squared away is that the entire listing for the participants in the parade, we do not have ownership of that in this group. It belongs to the town, but we don't have ownership of it. Someone who was running the parade before still has that with the password, and I have requested today from Jamie that that be requested to be delivered electronically to the town so that it's on town computers so that we can run it from here without having to go through
And
any
change it
hoops.
if we need
Yeah, and
to.
change the password and stuff. So that's a thing. And we only send out like 2 or 3 notices and stuff to people and everything else, and that's it. For the line of march.
As far as the bell goes, I'll ask somebody, our friends, we can ask Gary Plank.
Well, I actually have the number of the chief.
Yeah, so
Who I
we'll
contacted
get the
last
bell.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
thanks.
we're starting off, we're ahead of the game here, so we'll take our little listing here, and as you just go down and make sure we have each one of them covered. So far, we've got a bunch of them covered, but there's all these little things that you gotta do
It's always
too.
difficult to get the
You know.
scouts. They hold up the printing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the hardest
They
one.
hold
Yeah,
up the
and
printing of
that's the
the
thing.
program.
What else did I want to tell you about that? Okay, so I'll take care of the flag order, that's not a big deal, all right? And we'll just make sure we do have enough for the exit 10 ones, that's fine. We can't go into any other areas today because other business, there is other business on here. There's not much, I don't think there's much more that we have to come up with that haven't been mentioned before. I will say that we, as a group, don't administer to it, but the Reach Across America does exist, okay, in this town, and we do that program. And I'm in the middle of, I'm in contact with somebody who may take over what was my role in that in the coming year. Okay, so I'll let you know more about that if it comes to fruition. But other than that, that's all I can say about that. So is there anything else that we have left out of this that nothing we can vote on, but anything else we have left out? The beautiful thing is that we're going to get this wartime veteran street thing clarified because you guys will meet between now and the next March meeting, which is, what date is that, Kara, do we know?
It's the same as February. They always are the same, I
Same as February, which would make it the 13th, I would imagine, right?
think.
Okay.
12.
Yeah, it's the 12th.
12th.
Yeah,
12th.
it's always the same.
12th. Yep, 12th. March 12th is our next meeting, at 3:30 right here. Please, I hope everybody can show up, and we'll go and do what we can do. I don't think there's anything else we have to clarify. Please give some thought to what I mentioned before about emceeing the Memorial Day ceremony in Spring Grove Veterans Cemetery, because as I said, Karen and I will not be here, And everything that has to be done for that should be done far in advance.
May 27th is our daughter's birthday.
Right, it
It's our
is.
anniversary.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Wow.
It was my
Um,
father's birthday, too, 1913.
Anything else just for general conversation? Did anybody else have to bring up?
The next person in chart, is it Terry? If you're not here, is?
Yeah, chair's a vice chairman.
Okay.
So theoretically, it should fall to the vice chairman to do that.
But it
Okay.
doesn't have
Okay,
to.
I wouldn't presume anything, I just know that that's the line of, the
Succession.
Yeah, succession from me. That would be normal, okay? So, anticipating him taking it up, if not, and it doesn't have to be him. I mean, I have tried to, in my tenure here, not have to be the one who does certain ceremonies, does all the ceremonies. It's not necessary that the chairman do all of them. But it's a commission, okay? So everybody should be involved, so,
Yeah, so if anyone here would like to be a master of ceremonies, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that,
You need a good speaker. I'm not a good speaker. He's not a good speaker.
I am, but I'm not going to be here.
yeah, but,
That would make it really tough.
Yeah.
Yes,
but-
that, from a distance.
Non-present master of
Yes.
ceremonies.
The video. Hi.
Yeah.
So we all have our homework to do as far as all this goes here. We have to keep in mind.
David, one question, if you
Right.
don't mind. What's the situation of our respected and our brothers, Brother Scribner and Brother Walsh? Are they,
I can't speak to George. I haven't
He
seen.
wasn't reappointed.
I haven't seen.
oh, he wasn't reappointed?
And Chick was
He-
not
he-
reappointed either.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're not on, they're
Right.
not.
No.
George was off several years ago, okay, along with John Gagan.
They volunteered to
And they
stay
volunteered
until
to
they
stay.
were replaced.
Okay.
And so we would have a quorum for X amount of time. And then they did it for many years after that. And finally, John gave up the ghost and said, no, I'm done. Okay,
Right.
and I am done, and he was done. And George was still there, but he wasn't. As a matter of fact, if you went back and look at the record, somebody was probably appointed at some point to take his position. Because when you get appointed, you get appointed to
We were
replace somebody.
asked if my term is up. I was asked if I wanted to continue, and I said yes, but the appointment hasn't come yet. But
Right.
I was told because I asked, you continue until
Until replacement.
replaced
Yeah, I mean, there's
They
11
or
people.
appointed.
There are 11 people on the commission.
Okay.
Okay, and we're imbalanced, okay, political party-wise at this particular point in time. And we really, to be perfectly honest with you, we need the Democratic Party and the independents to come forward to be the next members of this group, because we are compelled to try to get that to be in balance or some sort, or to be representative. So that's where we are. I mean, as far as a...
Well, we should have 15
as far as
members, and we have
yeah,
11.
we should have 15.
Which is
you know.
why we
Right.
Yeah.
don't
That's why
have
we
a
have a
quorum.
quorum of 8. So we have to
What's
have 8,
funny,
so,
the next meeting, March 12th,
But I think
that's Chick's
that-
birthday, and he'll be 95 years old.
Wow.
95.
Wow.
95.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, he's
Don't I
a
wish?
neat man. And speaking of which, just quick to tell you that, I mean, to blow my own horn and our own horn at the Historical Society, there will be a World War I exhibit that will start probably in the middle of March. We'll have an opening. We are two-thirds of the way through installing it already. And one of the prime people involved, or whose materials you will see, will be Chick Scribner's father, Harold Blaine Scribner, okay, who was a sergeant during World War I. And we have we have his diary and several other things. We also have information from that's been lent to us from the Bixler and Hanks and Scribner families. We also have materials that have been lent to us by somebody who lives very close to the Bixlers, Alan Bell. Okay, I just spoke to him today. He gave us a whole set of beautiful postcards and stuff and everything else from World War I era that pretty much tell the story there. I think you'd enjoy it, and the posters that we have there are outstanding. Okay, we also have materials from Harry Schlichten, who was a son of a first selectman in Darien, George M.D. Schlichting Jr., okay, who also was at the same time the registrar of the draft of registration, and in such capacity sent two of his sons off to war. It's pretty interesting. He was also enlisted, I believe. When I looked at the enlistment rolls, I also found out that he also enlisted
Oh, did he?
on April 2nd, 1917. So everybody was enlisted at some point. Anyway, you'll enjoy it, and it's a neat thing. I think you'll all enjoy it. We've been working hard on it. So we're just going to adjourn. We don't really need a vote.
We'll
because we're not really-
adjourn our non-session.
We're just going to adjourn our non-meeting. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope we get somebody to step up. Hopefully we get a quorum next time and we can vote on a few things. We could just discuss stuff this time, but that's fine. Okay, we got a lot of stuff out there, and I think we've laid the groundwork for the next meeting to be really, something. So that's it. Okay. So.
Okay.